Boxing experts in total panic after Jake Paul gets knocked out hard.
You're doing. Knock yourself out. I could care less.
Jake Paul, you are a disgrace of a man. You are the epitome of weakness. You are the scum.
Seriously, I'm being serious. I think there's absolutely no way he can beat a world champion.
Jake Paul has just been served a heaping slice of humble pie, and it's got everyone talking. Just a few days ago, Jake was on cloud 9 after taking down Mike Perry, strutting around like he was the new king of the ring. Seriously, the guy was acting like he could step in with Mike Tyson and walk away unscathed. But oh, how the tables have turned. In a funny twist, Jake got knocked out, and it was brutal. Now, instead of basking in the spotlight, he's probably dodging the cameras that used to love him so much. Remember all that trash talk he was so famous for? Well, now he's the one on the receiving end, and the boxing community isn't holding back. Boxing pros and fans are practically having a field day with this, tearing into Jake like it's the latest sport. They're calling him out not just for losing, but for the way he's been conducting himself in the sport, like he's trying to skip all the hard work and still make it big. Let's just say respect is something you earn, and right now, Jake's in the red.
School Perry, time to go back to school. Get W at Walmart.
Celebrity boxing might be entertaining, but it's clear that when it comes to the real deal, there's no substitute for experience and respect. Jake's got some serious soul-searching to do if he plans to step back into the ring. When word got out that Jake, who everyone loves to hate, got knocked out in the first round, the boxing world practically threw a party. This wasn't just another loss for Jake, it was a full-on reality check. He walked into that ring like he owned the place, all swagger and confidence after his win over MMA veteran Mike Perry. Seriously, the guy was on top of the world, especially after landing a whopping 63% of his power punches in that fight. But let's be real, thinking you're invincible in the boxing ring is like bringing a water gun to a battle. You're going to get soaked. Before the match, Jake was living it up on social media, trash talking like it was an art form, flashing his cash, and showing off his intense training sessions. His fans ate it up, convinced he could take on anyone, even seasoned pros. With a knockout ratio of 75% and millions of followers cheering him on, who could blame him for feeling invincible? But the pros, the ones who've been around the block, weren't buying it for a second. They knew it was only a matter of time before Jake's lack of real experience caught up with him.
Does it affect the amount of unrelinquished, relentless talking that you do prior to the next fight?
Definitely the talk is turned down a notch, for sure, if there is a rematch.
When the fight kicked off, you could feel the tension in the air. Everyone was on the edge of their seats, waiting to see if Jake could back up his big talk. But then, in a flash, it was all over. A perfectly timed hook sent him crashing to the canvas, face first. The crowd, who had been chanting his name just moments before, was stunned into silence. How did this brash, cocky social media star, who seemed to have it all together, crumble so fast? The answer was clear. Overconfidence is a dangerous thing, especially in the boxing ring. When news broke about Jake Paul getting knocked out, the boxing world had a field day. Reactions were all over the place. Some people were genuinely shocked, while others were downright giddy. For those who've been critical of Jake from the start, this was the moment they'd been waiting for. The perfect I told you so. They always saw Jake as more of a hype machine than an actual boxer, and this knockout was their proof. It was like Christmas morning for his critics, who quickly pointed out that Jake's previous opponents were nothing compared to the guy who just floored him. The stats don't lie. His latest opponent had an 80% knockout ratio, way higher than anyone Jake had ever faced before. This wasn't just a bad day at the office. It was a reality check with a side order of humble pie.
And it goes back to like people just like attacking Jake Paul and like wanting to see me fail for literally like fucking nothing. Like on God, it's just the most bullshit thing. It just pisses me the fuck off. And then
you're good. Take a break. Take a break.
Yeah, take a breather. We can sit for a second.
Once the dust settled, the message was clear. Jake Paul just got a harsh reminder that boxing is a whole different ballgame compared to the world of social media. The boxing pros weren't shy about speaking up. They'd seen this coming from miles away. To them, Jake was always just a flashy persona. Social media clout might get you attention, but it doesn't train you to go toe-to-toe with real contenders. The pros want to remind everyone that in this sport, genuine skill, dedication, and years of hard work still matter more than a big following or a loudmouth. Conor McGregor was one of the first to jump on Jake Paul after his recent knockout, and honestly, it's no surprise. Jake had been throwing shade at McGregor for a while, especially after his win over Mike Perry. Back then, Jake was riding high, thinking he could take on anyone, so much so that he decided to take a shot at Conor. And let's face it, if there's one thing Jake knows how to do, it's stirring the pot to get those headlines. Conor, being the seasoned fighter and showman he is, couldn't resist hitting back with a lesson Jake won't forget anytime soon.
Jackass.
Back in December 2020, Jake went all out, publicly challenging Conor and waving a $50 million purse in his face. It was a classic Jake move: create buzz, boost visibility, and get everyone talking. And it worked, kind of. Conor, who isn't exactly known for holding back, made his feelings clear. He didn't just brush off Jake, he made it a point to set the record straight for all the young fighters out there. His advice was, don't aspire to be one of these YouTuber fighters. Aim for world titles and Olympic medals instead. Ouch. That's like telling someone they're playing in the kiddie pool when they think they're swimming with the sharks. Conor didn't stop there. He basically tore Jake's whole career strategy apart, calling it out for what it is, a hollow hustle. He pointed out that these smash and grab fights might get you some likes and maybe a few dollars, but in the grand scheme of things, they don't mean much. According to Conor, real fighters go for the big wins, the ones that actually matter, like world titles, not just viral fame. Jake Paul has never been one to shy away from controversy, but his response to Conor McGregor was next level, even for him. In a video, Jake didn't just stop at challenging McGregor to a fight. He took things to a seriously ugly place. His rant was filled with vulgar insults, not just aimed at Conor, but at his wife too. He opened with a sneering, "Good morning, Conor McGregor," and then went on to accuse McGregor of beating up old men in bars and expressed disgust with McGregor's personal life. The sheer level of disrespect in the video was off the charts, showing just how far Jake is willing to go to get under someone's skin. Naturally, Conor didn't take kindly to this attack, but rather than meeting Jake's insults with the same level of nastiness, McGregor dismissed him with a single cutting word: donkey. It was a simple but effective put-down that highlighted just how little he thought of Jake. Meanwhile, Jake, in his usual fashion, tried to play it off like it was all in good fun.
No, I fancy him for it, to be honest. I fancy your man's a bit windy. The other cat's a bit windy. Yeah. You know, so, but he's a donkey. The guy's a donkey, yeah, the other cat. Yeah. But what's a donkey has a kick as well. So you just got to be worried of that. So, but I just think, mate, take weather and that'll come and be pepper and I'll be in his face and I just think it's really neat, you know, really neat.
This clash between Jake Paul and Conor McGregor really showcased the huge difference between the two. McGregor, despite his own penchant for trash talk, has the accomplishments to back it up. He's a former UFC featherweight and lightweight champion with a record that includes victories over some of the best in the sport, like Jose Aldo and Eddie Alvarez. Jake, on the other hand, is still seen by many as more of an entertainer than a serious fighter. His challenge to McGregor, accompanied by that $50 million offer, was as much about keeping himself in the headlines as it was about taking on a real opponent. McGregor even pointed out how hollow Jake's approach to fighting was, reminding everyone that true fighters aim for titles and medals, not just social media fame. In the end, Jake's antics did what they were supposed to. They kept him in the spotlight and kept people talking. But whether or not he can actually back up all that talk in the ring remains to be seen. The boxing and MMA communities aren't holding their breath, and neither is McGregor. When the talks about the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight started heating up, Dana White was front and center with his skepticism. He didn't hold back at all, throwing shade at Jake Paul by accusing him of steroid use and claiming that his bravado was just for show.
Love Mike. I hate talking about it because he always gets mad at me when I talk about this stuff. When the fight happens, he'll be 58 years old. There'll be a 31-year age difference between these two. Jake Paul will fight a kid his age, and he lost. I just saw this thing on the internet yesterday. I reposted it. If he beats Mike Tyson, he's going to fight Clint Eastwood next. Clint Eastwood's 93 years old.
On the verge of Jake Paul, if you want to be taken seriously as a fighter, and you want to.
But he doesn't.
You know,
It's,
so
he doesn't want to be taken
that's
serious.
I'm getting.
What
at.
Jake wants is Jake wants to make money. The people that follow Jake Paul don't buy Jake Paul's fights. So Jake Paul has to fight people who can actually sell pay-per-views.
Dana White's track record in combat sports is impressive and hard to argue with. His insights come from years of experience and a deep understanding of the sport. So when he raised concerns about Jake Paul, it wasn't just a personal gripe, it was based on his extensive knowledge of fighters and their strengths and weaknesses. White's authority is pretty much unmatched. He's been pivotal in transforming the UFC from a niche sport into a mainstream phenomenon. Then there's Oscar De La Hoya's comment on Jake Paul. He said, "He's backed by a lot of money, obviously, and I think we should commend him. I think we should applaud him. Look, he wants to make the big fights. He's a huge fan, so why not? I'm all for it." At first glance, it might seem like a pat on the back, but if you look closer, De La Hoya is throwing some serious shade. To understand the bite in De La Hoya's remarks, you need to know who's talking. This is Oscar De La Hoya, a former 6th Division world champion with a serious reputation in the boxing world. His comments aren't just casual observations, they come with the weight of someone who has been at the top of the game. As a promoter, De La Hoya is used to guiding up-and-coming fighters. But despite Jake Paul's ability to draw crowds and his youthful energy, De La Hoya has never truly backed him. De La Hoya's criticism is more than just a subtle jab at Paul's alleged bribery issues. By highlighting Paul's wealth and enthusiasm, while also pointing out that he wants to make big fights and is a huge fan, De La Hoya is essentially saying, sure, Paul's got money and excitement, but that doesn't make him a real boxer. But let's not ignore the fact that Jake Paul is a crowd puller. His bouts rake in enormous pay-per-view numbers and attract a new audience that might otherwise steer clear of boxing. Some argue that Paul's presence is actually good for the sport, injecting it with fresh energy and bringing in new fans. However, for purists like De La Hoya and Dana White, this new attention feels like a dangerous compromise. As the dust settles on Paul's latest defeat, the buzz in the boxing world isn't so much about whether he'll fight again, but about what this means for the sport's future. Will boxing keep embracing these celebrity showdowns, or is this the moment when it reclaims its roots? Time will tell, but one thing's for sure, everyone in the boxing world will be keeping a close eye on Jake Paul's next move. Thanks for watching.